What's up, gang? How you guys doing? I'm Lieutenant Sal Blue, 28-year law enforcement veteran and the author of the Top 25 Mistakes en Route to the Good Life. Coming at you today with my daily podcast. That's right, this is the January 2nd, 208th episode of my daily podcast. And I just want to let you guys know my schedule is crazy right now. I'm basically, as I talked before, guys, I talked about doing what it takes, all right, to get the job done and not expecting anybody else to step in and do that job for you, do the job with you. And so I am doing a little bit of courier job where I'm driving around, as I spoke to you guys. Some of my podcasts are in the car, so I'm doing that. And during the holiday season, the movies is crazy. So I decided to go back and do a little bit of nights at the movies. Now I'm just back steady Friday nights. I'm working the movies. But yeah, I'm doing it. I'm doing it because I have poor planning. Poor planning, as I talked about before in another podcast as well. Poor planning leads to you scrambling and trying to get things done in your life, right? That you expect it to be going off without a hitch, going off easy. And so that leads to today's podcast. Today's podcast, man, is about stress, right? And the stress that we have in our lives. Now, if you guys get the chance to listen to my audio podcast on Spotify, it is totally different and ad-lib to this one, right? I was driving and dealing with traffic issues and everything else. And so my fly-by-night podcast basically was just me talking and driving about stress, right? So I hit on a couple of key points, and one of the key points I want to talk about is, what do you think the number one killer of law enforcement is in the United States? Stress. That's right. Stress is the number one killer, man. The number one killer. And because stress is the number one killer, right, we have to learn how to deal with stress. Now, there are several people, several different professions that stress beats you up and breaks you down, right? But in law enforcement, what we learn in our careers, throughout our careers in law enforcement, is to suppress it, right? That is our thing, because every situation, every single day, it can be a life-threatening situation every single day. So we have to live our life on high alert, right? Now, the average person has stress every single day. No matter what you do, there's some form of stress on your body every day, from the time the doctor smacks your butt till the time they throw dirt in your face, right? And you know the saying, nobody has gotten out of here alive so far. So stress is one of the things that slowly but surely breaks our body down over time. So we have to learn how to manage it, man. And so me doing this podcast for 2022 is me trying to explain to you guys the most important thing you need to do is learn to manage your stress, man. Learn to manage your stress. And what are some of the things that we are doing right now to manage our stress? That's very, very important. You know, in the beginning of my career, right, I had a totally different type of stress, right? My stress was fear, right? Fear, and everybody was an enemy. Everybody was a potential threat to my life, right? And so in the beginning of my career, before I learned how to communicate well with people and learn how to read individuals, I had a huge amount of stress on me because everybody I saw was a potential threat, you know. And this is the case with a lot of law enforcement officers in the beginning, right? If you have not properly developed your communication skills, then everybody seems like a threat, right? And when people seem like a threat, now your approach to people is totally different, right? You don't know how to open up. You don't know how to talk to people. You don't know how to deal with cynical people and sarcastic people, and you don't know how to deal with confrontational people. And all of that creates mounds and mounds of stress in the beginning of your career, right? So as you do your reps and sets and you deal with more and more people on a regular basis, a lot of people, what eventually happens is that is no longer a stress, right? That is no longer a stress because now you realize that everybody is not a threat, right? And so now you get to interact with people, but what truly happens is you learn to suppress the stress that you were initially feeling for that, and our body likes stress, right? Our body likes to bring on stress, even though it beats us up and it destroys us, right? So what happens is that now that that's no longer a stressor in your job, guess what becomes a stressor? Management, co-workers, your peers. They then become stresses, right? You know, the demands of management, right? The demands of your peers, the demands of doing your job equivalent to the standards that other people have set for you. And that becomes the next stressor. And you carry that stress most of the time throughout your entire career, right? There's always somebody looking down on you. There's always somebody above you. There's always somebody making demands on you. Okay, even if you're the boss of all bosses, right? In law enforcement, you protect and serve the public. So, and you're the boss of bosses. The stress is, right, serving the public the way the public wants to be served. So, there's always tons of stress in law enforcement. So you guys have to understand that, and you have to learn how to mitigate the pain of what stress does to your body, and learn how to alleviate yourself from all of the stress that comes down upon you. So a couple of things that I began to do to help me to deal with stress in my life, right? One of the most important things for me was learning how to manage, okay, all of the words that are going around in my head, all the thoughts, right? In law enforcement, you have tons of thoughts, right? Tons of thoughts. I mean, the average person has 60 to 70,000 thoughts a day, right? And most of those thoughts are repetitive, repeating themselves over and over and over again, which then eventually creates worry in your life. And so one of the stresses, one of the ways that I deal with that type of stress, all those thoughts and everything that is going through my mind, is I take on a routine of writing them down in the morning. I write down my stresses, things that I'm thinking about, and first and foremost, I start off with my dreams, right? I write down, okay, what I dreamed about. A lot of times, our dreams are the windows to solutions in our lives. One of the tricks that I started doing many years ago, which was taught to me by one of my mentors, is if you have something that you're trying to solve, a problem that you're trying to solve, write down the questions that you need answers before you go to bed at night. And what will happen throughout the night is your mind will continually work. Your subconscious never goes to sleep, right? So your subconscious is continually working on that problem. And a lot of times, come the morning after a fresh night of sleep, you have the solution to that problem, guys. You have the solution to that problem. So that is one of the tricks I began using, is writing it down. And so if I'm writing down a question at night before I go to bed, guess what? First thing in the morning, I write down my dreams. What was I dreaming about? What was I thinking about? Okay, what was on my mind at night when I slept? You know, the best of my recollection, what can I recall? Some mornings I don't recall anything, right? But a lot of the mornings I recall bits and pieces that I get to write down in my journal. And when I write them down in my journal, what happens is I begin to read it over and look at it, and then figure out that, hey, listen, this is the answer to the question that I wrote last night, right? This is the solution to the problem that I currently have and the thing that I'm currently dealing with. So, so that has been a major key to dealing with parts of my stress, right? ongoing problems, things that are bothering me, things that are on my mind. I write all of that down, man. And so I start off writing down my dreams in the morning, whatever I was dreaming about. From that point on, I go to writing what is currently on my mind. What are my current health issues that I'm dealing with? Things that are pressing in my life, right? What are my current financial issues that I'm dealing with? Things that are bothering me financially. How do I need to handle them? You know, children in college. How am I handling those serious college tuition bills, right? As they come due each month. How am I handling that? How am I handling the mortgage, right? How am I handling funding my business so it is continually profitable, right? How am I doing that? And so all of those things, I'm writing down how I'm handling and how I'm dealing with it, so that those aren't thoughts running in my mind each and every day, adding to my stress, right? So, so that is how I start off my morning with that. After that, I go into my gratitude, right? Maybe just a short paragraph on all of the things that I am grateful for. And I don't go overboard on gratitude, right? I'm not like, I'm grateful for driving a Lamborghini or a Mercedes or living in a mansion. I'm not, that's not what I'm grateful for, even though if I did have those things, I would be grateful for all those things. I write down simple things like I'm grateful for another day, right? I'm grateful for oxygen in my lungs and a healthy beating heart, right? I'm grateful for my wife, my children, and my pets, right? I write all of that down. I'm usually grateful for family, always, and grateful for love and having been loved and being in love, right? I'm grateful for that, right? And so those are simple things, right? That when you begin to show gratitude about the small things, you can then start to appreciate life a whole lot better, for everything else that you begin to gain in life is a bonus. When you're grateful for the small things, okay, the big things that come along in your life, they're all bonuses. They're all things that work out to your benefit. You know, as of right now, guys, I'm doing like a little courier job for a pharmaceutical company. So I'm delivering medicine and saving lives, right? Saving lives by getting medicine to the people that need it. And so as I do this, right, and I call a lot of the jobs that I do low-hanging fruit, right? And the reason why I call them low-hanging fruit is because they don't take a lot of my mental capacity. And my mental capacity, for me, constantly needs to be utilized for writing, right? Writing my book, working in my business, and figuring all of that stuff out. That's what I like to use my mind constantly for, to figure those things out. So if I'm going to take on another time-consuming job, trading my time for dollars, then it's going to be something that doesn't take away from my mental capacity, right? And the reason being is that I don't want to add additional stress to my life. So that is probably one of the key takeaways from today's conversation that I'm having with you guys, is you don't want to continually add things to stress yourself out, right? You want to manage your life as best as possible, so that things that are important to you, things that matter to you, you can dedicate tons of time and lots of focus toward those things. See, this is important, and it's very, very important to manage your life in a way that benefits you as much as possible, right? And when you reduce your stress, you become more productive in the areas that matter. So, on top of that, not adding, right, and making sure you journal things and write things down to keep things out of your head and on paper so you can see them, right? And also, guys, the reason why I journal is because what it does is when you write things on paper, they become a reality, right? They become a reality, but they just become words on paper, and you remove the emotions from the words, right? A lot of times when we are going through our minds with tons of thoughts, what happens is those thoughts become emotionalized, right? And when emotion is added to anything, just about anything, it amplifies the feeling, okay? And when we amplify the feeling, it kind of, a lot of times, throws us off, right? It kind of skews the meaning of the words on the page, right? So in order to eliminate us overthinking things, right? Or in order for us to eliminate us being lost in our emotions and adding false meanings to things, you write them down and then you can analyze it properly, right? And so I think that is key, and that is important for us to move forward in order to progress the best as possible. You're moving forward with the proper perspective. Is that what I'm trying to talk about? So you want to have the proper perspective when it comes to moving forward in anything that you do, and any endeavor that you're trying to achieve. So make sure you constantly write things down, take them out of your mind, and put them on paper, right? Two other things that I want to touch on as far as me writing down and journaling is I like to always write down what I'm excited about, right? So what I'm excited about is something that's probably going to be going first in my life, moving forward, right? Putting things in their proper perspective and proper priority. You know, a lot of times some of the things that I'm excited about are some of the projects that I'm working for in my business, right? Whether it's writing a new book, whether it's setting up a new series of courses that I'm doing, or it could be that we have a family night planned, right? Where we're going to sit down and we're going to watch movies, Marvel movies maybe even, as my family likes to say. Every time I say we're going to watch movies, my family goes, "What, another Marvel movie?" Yeah, it's usually that. But anyway, I like to have those things mapped out so that I can know I already know what I'm excited about, but so I can see it on paper what I'm excited about. Okay, and last but not least in my journaling is commitment, right? Things that I'm committed to. I like to write out things that I'm committed to doing in my next 24 hours, right? You can have a commitment 5 years, 10 years down the line, but those commitments may change over time. So it's very, very important for me to write down my commitment for the next 24 hours. When you write down your commitment for the next 24 hours, you know, right, despite all the distractions, you need to keep that right in front of you so that you can work forward from that point on, right? So your commitments have to be what you're working with right now at this moment, at this point. So make sure you guys keep your commitments right in front of you first and foremost, in the forefront of anything that you're doing, right? So commitments is important. So that's me in my journey, and that helps me dramatically reduce stress. Now, another thing that helps me reduce stress in my life, and you guys can take notes on this, is my morning routine, right? Journaling obviously is part of my morning routine, and I wanted to go into detail almost on how I was journaling and not just writing things down on a piece of paper, right? Because everything serves a purpose. And the purpose of my journaling is to reduce stress and to keep my mind organized and keep my mind from running crazy loops upon itself and getting lost and distracted. That creates stress. The next thing that I do in the morning, guys, is I like to stay physically active. I like to stay physically active. The older you get, the less flexibility you have. So there's two things that I like to do. I like to set up my next day, the night before, by stretching. I stretch at night before I go to bed. You know, I do the foam roller and over my tendons and everything else. So I do a good 30 minutes of stretching before I go to bed every single night, right? And so people go, "Oh, you stretch every single night?" Yes, I think it's very, very important to stretch every day so that you wake up with some good circulation and you wake up feeling well, right? And feeling good. As I've taken on this other courier job, I do a lot of sitting and a lot of driving. So because that is the case, in my other job, I do a lot of standing. And because that is the case, guys, I have to remain extremely flexible at all times, right? So stretching at night is key. In the morning when I get up, it's yoga time, right? I get up and I do yoga. I do 10 minutes of yoga and meditation in the morning, guys. Just 10 minutes a day. Amazing. 10 minutes a day, amazing. Gets me a pep in my step, and I feel on fire. I feel incredible and ready to start the day, man. So yoga and meditation are very, very powerful, right? And if you guys have never tried it, it is not easy either, right? Holding the poses, holding the different positions. Yoga is it is different. It is different when it comes to a workout. This is not throwing weights around and being super strong, right? And being bulky, like how I used to be. Yoga is me concentrating and using my breath work and my mind, okay, to hold positions and to get the most out of my body. So that is a huge, huge stress reliever in the morning. When I'm done with my 10 minutes of yoga and flexibility, I get on a spin bike. And I go on the spin bike anywhere from 20 minutes to 45 minutes. I'm going every morning on my spin bike, and I'm hitting it and I'm going. And it's just to get a sweat, right? Get a sweat and get my blood circulating. Now, 4 days a week, I'm going to work early in the morning, right? So because I'm going to work early in the morning, 4 days a week, guess what? I need to have as much energy as possible going into my day, and that tends to start off my day perfect, man. Tends to start off my day perfect. So that's just some of the things that I do to help me relieve stress, man. If you guys have some things that will help you to relieve stress, then leave me a comment, right? Leave me a comment down here at this YouTube video, and we can do some different videos and have a conversation, do a different podcast on some of the different things that you do to help you to relieve stress. I have a couple of people, in law enforcement that in order to reduce stress in their life, they love watching cop shows. That's all they do. NCIS, every single version, right? Hawaii Five-0, Blue Bloods, right? They watch all the cop shows. And I go, well, how is that, relieving stress for you? And I ask them, and they tell me, they said, well, all of those shows are cop shows where they go through some of the things that we've gone through in law enforcement, but at the end of the day, they have a lot of feel-good stories, feel-good things that show you that cops are out there doing the right thing, right? And so it gives them a sense of having an audience that believes in them and wants them to succeed. So that in itself is a stress reliever, especially for a lot of the guys that are still on the job. You get that form of appreciation for what you do when mostly in the news and the media and in public that law enforcement has a black eye for the longest of not really serving the public the best way they can. So listen, I just want you guys to come into 2022 alleviating all of the stressful things that you are dealing with in your life, so that you can live as long and as healthy as life as possible. So I give you a few tips. Hopefully this is working out for you, and hopefully you guys have a fantastic 2022 and a fantastic day. And I will talk to you tomorrow with my daily podcast. All right, you guys have a fantastic evening. This is Lieutenant Sal Blue. Listen, make sure you guys, by the way, before we wrap it up, make sure you guys hop on over to lieutenantsalblue.com, pick up your copy of the top 25 mistakes en route to the good life. That's me. That's my little bio on the back. And pick up your copy of the top 25 mistakes en route to the good life. I'm giving away 10,000 copies of my book. 10,000 copies of my book, 10,000 autographed copies of my book. So that is free plus shipping, okay? And you guys will be able to pick that up, and you can jump right in and enjoy it the best as possible. When you guys go over to lieutenantsalblue.com and purchase my book, what you can do, guys, what you can do is you can also get the order form bump that I have on my audio book. When you guys purchase my audio book, guess what, man? When you purchase my audio book, what happens is, okay, you get tons of extras that I'm giving out on my website, as well as you get to finish my book, right? That it took me 2 weeks to record. You can finish that book in 4 hours, right? There's 200 and something pages. You can finish that in 4 hours. Just listen to it at twice the speed, 2x. So, anyway. Also, guys, if you have any podcast suggestions, any topics that you want me to touch on, any things that you like me to talk about, all right, just shoot me a DM at any of the social media platforms, TikTok, YouTube, Snapchat, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Blogger, Reddit, Pinterest. I'm on all of them at Lieutenant Sound Blue. So shoot me a DM at any of those. And that's it, man. You guys have a fantastic day. I will talk to you tomorrow with my daily podcast, all right? Deuces.